Welcome to today's Global Connections program. I'm Bill Miller. What is the ILO's Exports Project doing to help reduce youth unemployment and to promote economic development in Egypt? My guest today is going to bring us up to date on this very timely and very important project. My guest today is Mr. Hesham Bayoumi. Mr. Hesham Bayoumi is the International Labor Organization's Program Officer for the Exports Project in Cairo, Egypt. Hesham Bayoumi, welcome to today's Global Connections program.
Hi, Bill. Nice to meet you.
I appreciate you being with me today. We're going to get into your really interesting and very innovative program very shortly, but let's talk a little bit about Egypt. Egypt is a critical player. It's a major country right off the Mediterranean. You've got Libya on one side, Israel on the other side, Sudan to the south of it. The population is about 90 million people. It's about 1.1 million square kilometers, 386,000 square miles. Why is Egypt so important? Not just to that area of the world, but really around the world to some degree.
Yeah, actually, you left me nothing to say about Egypt, actually.
No, and, you got plenty to say.
And actually, Egypt, the importance of Egypt due to a lot of historical actually backgrounds Egypt is coming from, in addition to the proximity of Egypt, the location itself that actually putting her in the middle of the world. In addition to Egyptian people, human resources, and a lot of other resources has put actually and has gave Egypt this importance of location and strategic, resources. Egypt is currently having.
Now, Egypt is a major player in the countries, the Mediterranean countries, but also even with the sub-Saharan countries, is it not? I mean, it's a major player throughout the entire continent.
Yeah, actually, Egypt is currently in the middle between the Middle East and Africa, and Egypt is economically and politically is playing a lot of roles with Africa, with Middle Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and the Middle East as well. We're having a lot of cultural collaborations. We have a lot of political relationship with these countries and with the Middle East region and African region. We do capitalize a lot on this on these connections.
Mm-hmm. Now, we talked about the population of Egypt being 90 million people. Could you talk a little bit about the situation, the current situation as far as the unemployment rate, let's say amongst youth, as opposed to perhaps the adult population? Talk about the economy. How is the economy doing? Just to give us a ballpark idea of what the current statistics are in that very important country.
Well, actually, we are about 90 million people right now, and after the revolution 2011, where the country was experiencing a lot of difficult situation in terms of economy, in terms of people's living. So this actually has contributed directly to increase in the unemployment rates in the country. A lot of issues happen: political uncertainty, civil unrest, a lot of debates, demonstrations, in individual concerns and raises here and there has contributed actually to this collapse of this country. However, after a couple of years of this, we have started to see a lot of improvement in the government, a lot of improvement in the political situation with Egypt and many other countries. Yet to see that the new government also is working very well in improving people's life, and we're having a lot of plans also for workforce, as well as you earlier raised that Egypt is currently having a huge unemployment rate. So we're just trying to work on this. Yeah, we're currently having some issues we're working in. We're just trying to improve people's life, or just to improve the economy due to a lot of issues, a lot of shortages in resources, a lot of political constraints from some other countries towards Egypt has contributed in this dilemma. So now, as I told, we're currently having a lot of improvements, and we are currently trying, as an ILO, also to contribute to the development of the country through number of projects that is currently contributing directly to the lowering the number of unemployment. We're doing a lot of things, helping export sectors through a lot of activities, and having some matchmaking activities, and we're contributing, partnering with the government, and promoting the idea of employment of decent jobs for Egyptian young people. And we have had a lot of collaboration with the Egyptian government and now we have actually got a lot of open doors with the government to talk about this. And we have had a lot of unprecedented protocols and agreements with governments represented in a number of protocols related to employment in industrial development, related to gender equity, related to disability, related to women empowerment, a lot of protocols that is signed, and this is actually unprecedented because it is signed by the president of Egypt.
Now, the International Labor Organization is a very unique agency for many reasons, and one is because it's a tripartite arrangement. You bring in the key players. You have the government, you have the business, the private sector, plus you have labor involved. It's sort of a three-legged stool, and you bring them into the deliberations to help develop these programs. If you mentioned several projects that you had, the exports project that you have with them, how could we focus on maybe one or two of them for the moment and talk about what they're doing to help increase the exports? This is what it's about, to help them to improve their international trade position and to export into the international marketplace. But could you talk about a couple of specific projects where you see the government, labor, and the businesses collaborating to really to improve, and then we can talk about how we measure that, but are there some specific examples?
Yeah, one of the biggest examples I would like to give is that one of the biggest projects is running currently. It's operating in around 11 governorates in Egypt, named Exports Project. This project is working in 3 different industrial export sectors, which is textile, ready-made garment, and food. This project is operating since 2013. It's supposed to be operating from 2011, right after the revolution. But due to all the incidents I told you about, we have actually postponed it a little bit to 2013, where we have started with a very good collaboration and agreement with the government, represented in the Ministry of Manpower, because we're here trying just to further promote the idea of improving the inspection process and labor inspectorate to provide more services, to provide better services for the employers. We're having a lack of trust, a lack of confidence between the employers and between the government. So we're just trying to enhance this, trying to, you see, clear this picture through this number of activities. So we have worked fully on making this improvement with the government. We have totally rebuilt all the inspection offices in 11 governorates. We have managed building the capacity of 911 inspectors in these governorates. Afterwards we have created the comprehensive checklist of inspection, and it is now published and circulated to all the employers. So everyone now know what the inspectors will do in their companies. Afterwards, we're also working on the second component with the employers on further improving the capacity of the employers. And here, if we're going to talk about the industries, we just need to talk about the challenges of the industry. So we have managed to have a very comprehensive research about the industrial challenges we're currently facing. So we found the most challenges are actually focused on human resources issues, like turnover, like skills of workforce, like also the lack of communication between the middle management and the workers, senior management and middle management. We're having a huge gap in this area. So we have tried also to work on the working environment itself. We're having a lot of issues in this area, health and safety issues, and actually both those issues are affecting directly the exports, because at the end, most of our companies we're currently targeting are exporting to US and Europe buyers. So as far as you know, US and Europe buyers are always having their audits to ensure that the suppliers are in compliance with the international standards. So we're helping companies out in this component. We're helping companies out just to comply with the labor standard, and we're also helping them out just to solve their problems in the health and safety and the human resources. So we have developed a comprehensive module, what we call COIN. COIN stands for Competitive Industries. There are a set of modules that actually created, customized on these specific industries to provide solutions on human resources, occupational safety and health, and social compliance. We've actually made this module, and now we are currently working very hard with 100 companies in Egypt developing these modules, and we have achieved a lot of impact. Not only that, we're working also with the workers level, which actually completing the tripartite here. We're working with around 50,000 workers in educating the workers about their duties and rights, and also about the basic safety principles, aiming here just to lower the number of injuries, the number of accidents happening in the workplace due to the lack of knowledge in this regard.
And you mentioned the acronym COIN, C-O-I-N, competitive industries.
Yeah.
These, and you mentioned the modules, which is a fascinating concept. Is this basically, are you working with them to set up workshops, set up training programs to talk about how to reduce employee turnover, or to help provide skills to employees and to management too, not just employees, the rank and file, shall we say, employees, but management? Are you working with them to talk about safety standards and how they need minimal safety standards, why it's good to invest in your employees and to have a happy and safe and work environment, that type of thing? Are all those part of that? And do you do this mostly through workshops, symposia, various courses, that type of thing? Is that how the modules operate?
Yeah.
Or is there more to it than that?
Yeah, exactly as you said. COIN module is designed for medium and large size enterprises. So we're here talking about labor intensive industries. So here is where we're talking about the HR, and talking about the HR implies a lot of talking about retention management. So it's actually due to our research, we have found out like most of the people are laid off, and most of people are leaving their work places because the condition is not good, because there's no communication, there's no career path, there's no aspiration. So people are leaving their jobs because of this. So we have thought about creating these modules just to further incentivize the employers on keeping their people. Like we have actually activated the retention management module to just to help the employers retain the workers instead of actually looking for new hires. We have also thought through the research that most of the people in these industries are coming through referrals. It's not actually a job posted in a newspaper or something, or a website. They're always coming as a referral. So working with referrals will actually imply that we need to talk here about the working environment. If I'm not comfortable, feeling comfortable working in this place, I'll not actually be referring it to other people or colleague, because actually they may actually get back on me for this. So this is one thing we're working on. We're working with the companies on the company's level on actually trying to increase their knowledge about all these programs. So we're building their capacities through workshops, through training programs about how to implement this. So we need to make sure the company itself know how to do it. So we're training the HR people, we're training the health and safety people in the HR module and the occupational safety and health module. Afterwards, we're having a huge team of advisors who are monitoring closely the implementation of this program, and who are also reporting on the progress of the implementation.
And in this very complex, globalized world that we live in today, it's extremely important to bring all the components together and to include everything from A to Z, because it's like a chain, a long chain, and all of the links have to work together and have to be equally strong, or it's just not going to operate. Well, you're watching Global Connections Television, which is a privately funded, independently produced program. The opinions expressed on Global Connections are solely those of the moderator and his guests. We encourage all of our viewers to go to our website, globalconnectionstelevision.com, to look at previous programs. Also, if you have an interest in sharing these programs and you're involved with, be it a PBS station, community access television, or it may be that you're with an educational institution such as a university that has an intra-campus television hookup, or maybe just have a website, please feel free to go to the website, our website, and download the programs that are provided free of charge at no cost. Today we're taking a look at a very unique program operated by the United Nations International Labor Organization in Egypt to help reduce unemployment and also to promote exports into the international marketplace. And my guest is bringing us up to date on this very interesting project. My guest today is Mr. Hesham Bayoumi, and he is the program officer for the ILO Exports Project in Egypt. Hesham, we're talking about this program and how important it is to work with all the different components. You mentioned there were some problems at the beginning. As usual, there are always startup problems, no matter any type of project, any type of law, any type of whatever that's coming online. It sounds as though you're working through those and that there's much more of a cooperative effort today from the government, from labor, and from the business sectors. How do you measure the effectiveness? Do you look at the, say, business X, and we haven't talked about which types of industries are involved, but do you look at them to see if they're exporting more into the international marketplace, if they're expanding, if they're hiring more people, if they're bringing people in and they don't have that employee turnover that maybe they had before, that they have happier workers, they have more safe workers? How do you measure your effectiveness?
Well, we're having a list of indicators we're looking after. And we are having a specific indicator for every and each component. For the government, for instance, we're working with the labor inspectorates. We're having a list of indicators showing that how the performance of the inspectors has improved, and how is the inspection process has all improved, and what is the timely hours and timely factor we're actually tracking here in the inspection. So we're having a list of indicators we're looking after in the government, in the employers, and with the workers. In the employers, we're actually checking the impact of the activities we're currently having with the companies. We're actually measuring the forced labor, the child labor, the turnover rate. We're checking here labor satisfaction. We're checking labor skills. We're checking the defects rate of in the products. We're checking a lot of things that shows a lot of improvements from in every and each component. The workers component also, we're checking the worker satisfaction. We're checking the number of accidents happen, because after making the capacity building, we have succeeded to lower down the percentage of accidents in most of the factories we're operating in. So we're having a huge and comprehensive number of indicators while looking at it.
And that is so important to look at every part of as I mentioned a minute ago, the entire picture, and to take it into consideration. Do you find, if we think back, well, it's changed quite dramatically over the past several years, but years ago it used to be a very vertical type of arrangement, a business. The managers would just tell the employees what to do, and that was about it. There wasn't really much room for feedback. But today it's much more of a collaborative process. It's a more democratic process in depending upon the industry. Maybe the high-tech industry is a little more collaborative, more democratic, as opposed to being on an assembly line. But do you find that attitude is changing with the businesses and how they involve their employees and how they want to work with them more so and I'm not just talking about businesses in Egypt, but really around the world to a large degree. But do you find it to be more of a collaborative process?
Yeah, this is actually a very important point you're raising here. And it's actually, it will give us an idea about what's the communication level with the management and with the workers. And actually it gave us another insights about the industry itself, because it depends here on the industry. If we're talking about the industry in Egypt, it's most of the industry, more than 80 or 90% of the industries we're talking about, it's a family business industries. So we are here talking about family companies. We're working about one-man show, one size fits all. So all this type of examples actually we're seeing in the companies. So it is slightly getting different now, because they have realized that this is the only way to have a social dialogue, to have a proper communication on all levels. And actually we are trying to give a lot of examples. We've been operating in many countries, and me personally, I used before the ILO to work in many countries as an international auditor for a number of buyers and brands. So we know well how the communication will add to the progress and to the improvement of the workplace and to the company at large. We have also, through this project, we have tried to make a bipartite and tripartite dialogue in the company level, the bipartite and the tripartite, involving the government also in a number of governorates, and it really works. It's slightly progressing, but it really works.
One condition, and this is certainly not endemic to Egypt, and we talked about it a little bit before the show started, the unemployment rate among youth. You alluded to that a few minutes ago. How important is it for us to focus more attention on educating youth, but also to make sure that after they go through their educational process, whatever it may be, trade school, through high school, university, whatever it may be, that they have decent work, they have meaningful employment? And I think you mentioned that the unemployment rate among youth is like 20%. That is extremely high, not just for Egypt, there are many other countries that have that, but it can also be very dangerous, can it not, as far as youth who become disenchanted. They may develop antisocial activities, they may get involved with terrorist groups, they become frustrated. They really become very frustrated because they can't become gainfully employed. They know they're skilled, well skilled, they know they have the ability to do the job, but there may not be work. How important is it to focus, not just in Egypt, but every country where there's any type of youth unemployment?
I think there's percentage of unemployment all over the world. Even in China, they have a huge percentage. Yeah, yet they are not declaring this, but there's a huge unemployment rate. The problem here is how the government is looking to it. So our government, if I'm talking about my country, and then I would actually try to cascade on the rest of the countries, our country is trying to have a lot of improvement and a lot of strategic planning with a lot of international organizations like the ILO, a lot of UN organizations and USAID, for instance, in making this happen. They are having a huge program, very comprehensive programs, targeting to work on the unemployment. Not only this, but before this, also the education of the people on the secondary level and technical schools. We're having huge program for technical schools, and afterwards, to answer your question, it's very hard actually to find these decent jobs over the night. We just need to work on actually paving the road for this. It will take some time, but we just need everyone to understand that it's a long journey to achieve this. On many other countries, we have seen that a lot of similar initiative by actually encouraging the people during the studying period just to work in many factories. We have started that also in Egypt during the secondary education, the technical education. They've actually been taken half of the time for the education, working on what you call a technical skills jobs in some of the factories. So half of their lives are spending it on schools, and half of it they are spending it inside factories. So just trying this way just to grab them slightly towards this industry, because people don't want to work in factories. They actually need to sit and wait for the perfect job to find in the government or something, and this will never happen.
It may be a long wait,
yeah.
as we all discovered that at some point in our professional career, no doubt about it. Well, the last minute or so that we have of the program, what do you see as the major challenge as you move forward with your exports program, exports project in Egypt, as far as making sure that it involves everyone's finely tuned and it's totally successful?
Yeah. Actually, we're currently now standing like 6 months away from finishing this project. It's supposed to end in mid-2017, and we're currently also trying to have a second phase proposal discussion with our management, because we have had a lot of impact in this first phase. Talking about the challenges we have actually faced, and we're trying to avoid if we're going to have a second phase for this nice project, is that we have actually faced a lot of difficulties in the communication in the early beginning with the government, because the image people are having about the ILO is all about defending workers' rights. However, the complete picture of the ILO as a tripartite organization was not yet clear in the country. So we have just tried to change the picture. It is already changed, and people have started to look at us at a totally different way. This is one thing. The other things related to the unemployment itself, because we are having a separate initiative running from here and there from many organizations, and as an organization, as an ILO, we are not in place actually to ask all these people to gather around and to sit together and to have a complete one strategy for unemployment. So I think this is a role of the government. They should actually gather all this organization and bring them on one table, talking about a national strategy of unemployment. So this is also one of the things we are envisaging from the government. The last thing related to the workers themselves, because we have also a huge percentage for uneducated people, and it's very hard to outreach this type of people. Just need to educate them first, then you need to deliver the message.
Exactly. Well, Hesham Bayoumi, it's a very interesting program, the Exports Program project that you have. And of course, our viewers, if they'd like more information, they can Google it, or they can go to www.ilo.org and get more information on this project and many others that we've been talking about. But I want to thank you so very much for a very interesting interesting and a very
conversation.
informative program. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
I'm Bill Miller. Thank you for joining us today on Global Connections Television.